Hello everyone and welcome back to Building Nations. I know it's been a little while, been a bit lacking in inspiration, a little bit. I got it back at one point and then just didn't make a video and then I lost it again. But now I have it back, so we're good. And you probably aren't able to tell by this, but we are now on 1.16. Now I didn't update this to 1.15 because there was no World Edit or Optifine. Of course, there is now World Edit and Optifine that exists for 1.15, but there wasn't at the time, so I didn't update. But now, there are so many great blocks that were added into the game, especially this basalt and this blackstone, that I just want to get into and use because they are so good looking. And this castle is a good way to do that. Now, I've done a little bit of experimenting with these sorts of blocks already, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But first off, you may notice these little blue things that exist. Now, these weren't there before. You see, when I was building up these rooms, I was thinking about how the interiors of some of these would look. And let's take this building here for an example, right? We go in, this is the whole building, you know? I just get this little square to try and make an interior in. It's really tall, but it's not very wide, which could cause problems if I want to make certain things. So, here I'll add, 3 more blocks to this, make it a bit wider. This is actually probably not the best example to show. I think this is probably a better one, right? This is the whole, it's just this 5-block wide thing with this little 3 wide section. What can you put in a 3 wide long room, a hallway? That's it. This is supposed to be more than just a hallway. So, we can fix that by adding in this extension. And over here, you take a look at this entire building and it's just a 5x5. This isn't supposed to be a tower, it's just a building. So why is it so tiny, It just doesn't make sense. So I connect this building to that building. And all of these sort of work together to just give me more interior space, and it should make the castle feel much better to just walk around in. Now, all of these are connected right now. I mean, you can fly from one building to the next without issue. But you can kind of see where the interiors are and why I felt like this was kind of necessary in order to make them better. So I'm going to do that. We can get into the 1.16 stuff a little bit later. Alright, I realized that after I made the intro and really this entire episode, I realized that I never actually showed off all the finished buildings in a video. So that's kind of weird. I just talked about it as if you guys had seen them before, but you hadn't. So, sorry. I did look around quite a bit, though, if you wanted to see them. And, of course, when the full time-lapse comes out, you'll be able to see what they look like then. So, yeah. With these buildings, I decided to take a slightly different approach into how I made them. Obviously, I don't have World Edit anymore, so I couldn't use the same method I did, which was kind of like going up halfway, turning the bottom into stone and stone brick, and turning the top half into cobblestone and stone. I couldn't really do that. So what I did is I just built 3 rows of stone brick, 2 layers of stone, and then 3 layers of cobblestone or whatever. And then I kind of mixed them in that way, mixed stone into the cobblestone and stone brick layers, mixed the cobblestone into the stone layer, and all that stuff. And it took less time, at least it felt like it took less time, and it looked better. So I probably should have done that for all the buildings. Yeah, it made sense. A lot more sense now. Yeah. So that's kind of the process I was using for these, which is why they might end up looking slightly different, but that difference should make them look better, so I don't really see a problem. Yeah. So anyway, 1.16 has been released, and so has 1.16.1. And I believe that 1.16.2 is on the way. And that is exciting, because they added a lot of new blocks. I really like the basalt. and I really like the blackstone, but also the nether woods and the nether planks look really nice for like darker themed builds. I might end up using some of the warped wood stuff in this building, because I think it kind of goes well with the prismarine a little bit. So that might end up happening. It looks really there's just so many good stuff, so much good stuff. It's crazy. Like, I really like it. One thing though, I feel it's kind of weird to me that they didn't add basalt stairs, cause like you can polish it, so why aren't there stairs for it? You know, like blackstone can be polished and chiseled and all that stuff, so why can't basalt? It's kind of weird. Maybe because of the directional texture. I don't know. But I feel like basalt stairs and slabs would also look really good and be really useful to have. So it's kind of disappointing that we don't have them, but it's okay, I guess. You know, oh, we'll live. Can always just use stone, but it's not the same, man. You know, I want the good stuff. I don't want the lame basalt or lame stone stairs. Yeah. So it should be good. It should be good. I'm excited to use more of them, just in all over the place. And the new shroom lights, I just realized I forgot about those. They're really nice light blocks. Like instead of using lanterns as your sole light source, now you have a full light source block other than sea lanterns that actually looks good. So that's pretty cool. Because glowstone looks not great, and redstone lamps look pretty bad too. So it's a good thing that we got some new lighting. You know how you have to hide lighting everywhere? Yeah, that's why. Alright, as you can see, these little extensions have been added, and they work nicely. There is a little bit of some interesting places, like right here, where there is very limited space. That's okay. I could remove this tower. Then this would be a really open courtyard. I might do that. I don't know. I just thought of that right now. That would be an interesting idea. I could do it, then this staircase could go up, but I'd have to remove this wall also, which I could also do pretty easily. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Because there's also something else I have to think about, which I will get to in a second. This area looks a lot better, and I realize now that I did not put in the andesite. Yeah, so it looks okay from the outside. Really, you probably couldn't even tell a difference. Like, you can see the roofs and how they're bigger, but like it's still basically the same. The real difference happens on the inside, where you walk in and it's just you have all this open space now, and it's so much nicer. Also, another minor change that I don't know if you noticed, but I definitely noticed, is this used to be like a curved thing, and I made it straight, and I'm happy with that choice because it looked kind of weird being curved, not gonna lie. And over here, of course, just to show you the interior and how it looks now. This looks much nicer, got a lot more open space. This wall could honestly come down too, like this doesn't need to be there. But having all this open space is so nice, just for interior design. So I'm happy I did that. And over here as well, you can see the adjustment made to the size of this room, and now it can connect into this tower for real. So that's pretty cool. Now, there's another thing I have to make a decision on, along with the tower, and that is the border here. You see, even from the beginning, I wanted there to be some sort of thing going around the bottom here, just to add a little bit of detail, but also because it kind of makes sense that there'd be fortification type things on the bottom to support it. And originally I was going with this sort of light gray concrete and light gray wool, which is what I was planning on doing. But then basalt came in, and I was like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if basalt was like on the bottom? Like, that would be pretty cool. And then I'm like, okay, but also cyan terracotta and gray concrete powder looks really good too. So I don't know which one to do. What I'm going to do is ask on the Minecraft subreddit which one I should do, and I'll see what happens there. Alright, after that little quick poll thing, it has been determined that people generally seem to like the basalt and this darker stuff over this lighter stuff. Now, the lighter stuff obviously isn't bad, which is that these two are better. And one comment was actually particularly interesting. They said that I should choose the one that I want based off of the feel that they will give. The basalt is more evil than this stuff. They said that this stuff is kind of just like a sturdy sort of solid foundation. And that is more along the lines of what I want, which is why I'm going to go with this overall. However, I think there will still be places where I can use this sort of pattern in it, just kind of mixing it in, especially because that will get more variation and it will end up looking better as well. So I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. Alright, so this sort of rocks along the outside isn't something particularly new to me. In fact, if you look at some older videos of mine, you can see me doing this sort of exact thing in Xantod. I made the sandstone come up in a similar fashion along the outside walls of that castle. And they serve kind of different purposes. The walls of Xantod are much lower to the ground, so the sandstone kind of makes it seem like the sand was just kind of piled up there. But with this, it makes it seem very clear that they were purposefully made against the rocks with purposes of being stronger. So I kind of like that difference, and also it looks really good. Like, there is such a huge difference from what it is before to what it is with the rocks in. It looks so much better with them there. Like, it's insane. Like, how adding even something as small as this little trim drastically improves the whole building as a whole, and it's so nice. I really like it. Now, there are still other things I could do. I was thinking about maybe making this rock color become the whole mountain, but I decided against that just because I wanted to preserve the sort of grass for the rest of the city that's going to be made here. And yeah, I am planning on there being a city eventually. I don't know when, but some point in the future, I will make a whole city around this. This plains is really large, so I do have all of that room. So yeah, it'll probably happen at some point. I'm just really in the mood to make a castle right now. You know, this kind of castle is something that I haven't done before, so I really want to make it and just see what I can do with it, especially with the new blocks added as a part of this update, like what I am able to make within it, and I think it'll be really fun to just kind of make it. Even now, I mean, I can see there are problems with it, but doing this whole thing as a learning experience is really nice, and I really like doing it. So, yeah, fun times. Plus, it just looks cool, you know? It's always nice to have things that look cool inside of your world. Alright, as you can see, the rocks have been laid, and they look pretty good. So, the next step is going to be to make the exterior look better, because obviously right now it looks kind of bland. It looks cool, but it's also not particularly interesting. So I want to make the exterior look better. But before I can really do that, like laying out windows and detail patterns and stuff in the exterior, I need to know how the interior of things are going to look, so that I don't stick a window in a wall and then I have to model the interior around that wall instead of modeling the exterior around the interior, which I feel makes things make more sense if the exterior is modeled around the interior, if you're trying to make an interior. Obviously, if you don't care how the interior looks, making an exterior however you want is fine. But for me, I plan on making at least some interiors, which will be difficult for me, but I'm going to try. So I want the exterior to match the interior with window placement and stuff. So what I'm going to do is design a sort of rough plan for how the interior of all of these buildings are going to work, how they're going to connect. I'm not going to detail it at all, it's just going to be a really rough sort of layout, which will help me know how I want the exterior to go, which I can then show in more detail. Yeah. But because of the way interiors work, And the fact that I'm not going to be spending a lot of time in each area, I'm not going to time-lapse it, I'm just going to do it. I wish I could time-lapse it, but I feel like it wouldn't work well anyway, and it's not even that interesting, so it's not even worth watching. Alright, with that in mind, let's get started. Alright, after somewhat kind of a long-ish time, I have now finished most of the interiors for these buildings. Well, I say finished. I have plotted them as floors. So, I have filled in the flooring for these rooms, which took a decent bit of time, doing dark oak floors with like oak staircases, oak ceilings, and that sort of thing. And yeah, there are some places where I've had to take a couple liberties, like here. This tower doesn't connect to anything on the ground, so I didn't want the staircase to keep going down, because that wouldn't make sense. And in the same vein, I didn't want it to keep going, have like an open space there, because then you could see down and it wouldn't look good. So I just kind of filled it in, and you don't notice, really. I mean, it's just kind of there. You're not going to see that and go, oh, I wonder what's behind that wall, you know? There are still some little things like this that I'll probably work out once I actually start making the interior. I didn't think about multiple floors in this building, actually. I might do that later. But yeah, there are a couple of spots here and there where things got a little weird. Like in buildings like this, where the ceiling would be here if I wanted to, do another layer, full other layer. So I just made these little sort of staircases. And this building has some weird stuff, gotta go down and around and all that. But yeah, on the whole, every interior is kind of planned out in that way, which is great. Probably won't show them all right now, because that would take a little while. But there are still some things that I am going to do here. For one, I want there to be a sort of walkway, like here. So I like take this wall, but instead of it just being a wall, I like make this 3 wide and just go out to this tower, which is kind of where this staircase came in here. Because otherwise, it just didn't make sense from the inside of this big building, which you can see here. I knocked all the walls out from inside, and now there's this big open space. This is going to be like a grand dining hall. We're going to have a long table through the middle here, king's chair here, and a nice staircase around the outside here, leading up to this top section, which is where like the king and his people will stay. This area will be for the king as well. It'll have like his room and stuff, so there's that. Now, that's the walkway. Another thing I wanted to add was a little building here, because this tower also doesn't connect to anything, but this tower does. So I didn't want this one to not have that sort of connection as well. Even though the two buildings are going to be very different, it's still nice to have this connect to something. So that's why I'm doing that. Yeah. Alright, one more little time lapse just to kind of wrap things up. This little building is kind of interesting. I had a couple of ideas as to how I wanted it to work, but I ended up figuring it out. I did want it to connect to the building on the left there, just because I thought it would be kind of cool to make a little raised courtyard space to walk around in. So I added in the standard wall detail and a little shack thing on top to house a ladder to get up there. And it's nice, it's a nice little building. The walkway here, I went 3 blocks wide with a mix of cobblestone and stone. I made a staircase there on the left to kind of match the inside, where there is also a staircase. So that little door there connects to the inside, and that just kind of makes it make more sense. I added walls along the outside for support, and it looks pretty good. Alright, as you saw from the time-lapse, this little building is now made. I can come down here, get into this building, and now go into this building, which I have just put in the interior for because this wasn't here. before. But now I can get up here and go about my merry way. Also, you can see the walkway from down here. It is flat right now, but I will be adding some detail here, probably like supporting beams and stairs and all that stuff, just to make this look a little more solid. Yeah. So overall, right now, the interior, or the exterior looks kind of bland, but even with adding these interior, like, floor plans, I feel like it makes the whole thing look a lot better. Just, like, being able to see in places, and knowing that there's something there just makes it look nicer. There is still a couple more things, within the castle itself. Like, I want to get rid of this grass and make it something else. Maybe I'll keep the grass, I don't know. Different block, mix-in blocks. So obviously I still have to make these sort of retaining walls in these areas, and I'm going to polish up the terrain a little bit in some of these areas as well, just to make it feel more like it's actually part of the castle and not just sort of something thrown in there for no reason. But yeah, it's coming along pretty well. I really like it, like just looking at it. Like, doesn't that look cool? You know, just from all the way out here. It's just so cool. I like it a lot. And with that, I'm going to leave this here. Leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed, leave a comment, any feedback you have for me, and I'll see all of you later. Bye.